All right, let's cover the few things in network security that I wanted us to take a look at. Physical security and social engineering. The other stuff we'll worry about next semester in our ethical hacking class, which will be a lot of these kinds of labs that'll be in there, and so it's a much more targeted information. But I'm going to include that in another video to kind of give you a heads up of what that class is going to be about. That's usually what I do at the end of the semester so people know what's going on. All right, so security. Physical security facts. Like, how do you keep things physically secure? This is something that we understand and we know, but we often don't really do what we need to do to keep things physically secure. So, let's take a look. Sorry, that just scrolls way too much. But my desk is so small I can't use a mouse. All right, so there are perimeter barriers, fences. That's provides an environmental barrier, barricades to prevent vehicles, signs that just inform people, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Lighting deters the casual intruder. In other words, lots of lights. Also helps guards to see. And then obviously security guards. Now, I know that in the movies, right, the security guard is the dumbest, worst thing that you can have. It's better if you have some kind of drones and artificial intelligence running everything. Ha ha ha. But security guards are actually, that's a good thing, right? They make fun of them all the time. But the truth is that if you've got somebody walking around your building, chances are nobody's going to try to get in there. That's just the truth. But they're expensive, they require training, and can be unreliable and inconsistent depending on whether or not they're actually looking at anything, right? Closed circuit television. This is the kind of thing that's always exploited on TV, where basically somebody hacks in and takes control of the cameras. Most places don't have web-enabled camera systems. They have a closed circuit camera system. In other words, it's totally on its own network. The dumb stuff is CCTV. In other words, it's just cable that runs from cameras to monitors. And there's a cable and a monitor and a cable and a monitor, and you can see what's going on in there. And there's a bunch of stuff that goes along with that: resolution, focal length, and lux, and so on. On this section, I should tell you, I won't test you over it. I want to see your notes on it. That's what I want to see. So don't worry about a test in this. I want to see your notes. And you'll notice that you have a lab to do. And I do want you to do that lab. So unlike the other stuff I covered, which I just said I want notes, I want your notes on this. And I want you to do the lab, implement security, and this lab, respond to social engineering exploits. And watch this, identify social engineering exploits. We're only doing 1 and 2, so I'm going to be done in a minute. All right, so closed circuit TV, basically. And then doors. What? Yeah, doors. That's the most commonly used security thing. You put a door in the way. And then some of them are actually locked. And then if you want to keep something secure, you keep it locked, and then people can't get into it, right? Well, there are some other doors. For instance, a man trap. I talked to, actually, Mike Fox, if you want to ask him. He used to work for Army Intelligence over in Hawaii, and he said they had this tunnel that you would walk through. In the middle, there was a man trap. And what a man trap is that you enter one door and it locks, and the other one doesn't open until you shut that. Right, so you have to shut it, and then the other one will be flagged to open. Now, there's several ways to implement this, but a lot of them actually have a person there. And he said that's the kind it was. There was actually a Marine standing there. And so you would go through the door and you'd shut it behind you, and you're locked in this. That's why they call it a man trap. And then you'd have to show your ID through the window, and they would look at your face, and they had a gun. And then if they thought that you were the person that you said you were, then they would let you through. Otherwise, you were detained there or shot. And so, hey, that's pretty dang good security. They don't show that on TV, though, right? That's usually not what they show. Of course, there could not be an in-person there. You may have like a little card swipe on the other side, and if it doesn't go through or you don't have the you can't type in your code, then you just sit in there and wait. And then turnstiles, which are not really much of a problem for people. Turnstile is, just locks and it lets you go. It's usually meant to just control people coming in and going out. And then the double entry door has two doors that are locked from the outside but have crash bars on the inside that allow easy exit. Double entry doors are typically used for emergency exits. And so that you commonly see. Those are all EAC doors are that way. Right? Almost every one of them's double entry, and then there's a crash bar on it. Easier to get into with those. And then there's actually difference in locks. Like this is another thing that TV likes to do, or movies like to do, which you can apparently just pick any lock. And I usually show my key to people, but here at EAC they actually have two sets of teeth on them. And so one set of teeth does not get you in. You have to have both sets of teeth on those keys to actually get you in through the door. And those are really pick resistant locks. It's going to be very hard for you to get through that. They don't like to show that on TV because you're not going to get through that door at all, right? It's just not going to happen unless you've got a very, very sophisticated key. Then there's, of course, keypad locks, but they require knowledge of a code, and often the oils stay on the keys, and so people can look at the keypad. That is true on TV, and they go, oh yeah, it's 337. Maybe it's 733. It doesn't matter. I'll eventually get it. Right. We had a guy here, and he was just really into security, but he didn't think things through. He was not in the computers at all. And there's a door that's upstairs in the AP building, and it's got a keypad on it, or at least it used to. And I always found that so funny because I could see what he was typing from halfway down the hall. If you got a keypad, you have to protect it so nobody can see it. And then the keys rub off, and so you can see which ones are being pressed. Anyway, so then you've got dumb cards, which contain limited information on them. And those are things that you slide into the door. And then you got smart cards, and they have encrypted stuff. And then contactless ones, which use radio frequency, is RFID. And so at 13 megahertz, you just tap it up there and away it goes. And so what you would normally do is use a bunch of these in combination. Like maybe there's a lock that you have to get through a door here, and then once you get to the inside door, you have to have a card to get you through. And then of course biometric locks increase things by using fingerprint or iris scans. And I usually point out that the stuff they show on TV where they cut somebody's eye out, that doesn't work because the iris scan is looking for a live eye that's got blood going through it. So, and of course, a lot of places, even these doors that are biometric or have a little card, they're actually computerized, and they keep a log, beep beep beep. So every time that beeps, they can actually be recording that James McBride came and logged in there. And then, of course, there's actually the physical access logs where somebody's writing it down and say, oh, James McBride came in at this time. So there's several ways to do that. And then physical access controls. They include key fobs, swipe cards, badges, and they're often, again, they're used. I already got through the outside locked door, and now I need a key card to get into this other. And then anti-passback systems that prevent card holders from passing their card back. And that's like a man trap, right? So I can beep, but I can't activate the other door. I can't do anything with that until the door is shut. And there's only room for me in there. And so that's something that can help there. Photoelectric sensors that detect motion, and then wave pattern heat sensing, ultrasonic sensing. And that's the stuff they don't want to show accurately on TV and movies either. They want you to be able to, oh, there's the smoke and now I can see the lasers, and that's a bunch of, hooey. Once that laser gets just even a little disrupted, that goes off. And then, of course, if you've got some kind of wave pattern, then that wave pattern is being sent across the entire room. And so as you walk through the room, the sensors are noticing that somebody's moving in the room. And so there's a lot of stuff out there that you can do to make it very difficult for people to get into a room and do what they want. And then asset control. That's actually where they put tags on things. They put tamper detection things on it. So you have a little thing that shows that you got into it. And then the asset tags to track it. I mean, a lot of it's counting. The machine costs $2,000, so you got to track it, that kind of thing. And this is what everybody forgets. So I want to really mention this: layered defense. What a layered defense means is that you need to use more than one thing in order to keep something secure. And that's the same for everything. So you would apply this, like if you go out and look on security sites, and I'm not saying this to upset anybody, but if you go out to security sites, real true security sites, not some security blogger, and then you ask what's more secure, Android or iPhone, they'll say iPhone, and they'll say because it uses layered security. And what that means, well, let me start with this. What people don't understand is they tend to try to make everything too simple. And so they tend to try to just go, oh, well, AT&T and Verizon, for instance, they can track everywhere you go, so they know everything that's on your phone. And it's like, well, no, that's not true. AT&T they do know where you go, but anything that comes off your phone that's encrypted, they don't know unless they hack the encryption, right? So then you have to go to a different method, right? So layered security would mean I'm not going to let you track my phone, and I'm not going to let this app see this data. And that's why I can't remember if I mentioned it in this class, but that's why I mentioned that on Android they found that a lot of these legitimate applications, they didn't specifically mention which ones, but they made it sound like Facebook and Snapchat and these applications actually take screenshots, right? Because if you're over there using WhatsApp, it's encrypting all that information, and Facebook can't see that. Well, they actually own them right now, so I guess they can. But Google can't see it. We'll say it that way. And so if they take a screenshot of what's happening, now they just got around that encryption security and they can see what you're typing actually on the device. Layered protection would mean I won't allow another app to actually take a screenshot, right? And iOS doesn't allow that. It doesn't allow another app to go take screenshots whenever it wants. Only you're allowed to do that. And so layered defense can be applied to anything, that you've got different layers and that you need to provide defenses at those layers, otherwise you're exposed. So in this place you need to think about which layers you're defending. For instance, you're defending access to the building, right? So defending that is your barbed wire fence and your gate with a guard in it. What about in the building? What happens if they get past that layer? What's the next layer? What else are you looking at? So you can take a look at this information. I'd expect to see some of this information in your notes here at the bottom of what does layered defense really mean. You can kind of consider that a little assignment to actually read that and put in what a layered defense system means in your notes, so you can get full points for that. But again, that's all we're going through for physical security. Now we're going to look at social engineering, and that's it. This is used a lot on television and is usually correct in how they use it. Social engineering is really trying to get somebody to do what you want them to do. So you're persuading them to do something for you. As a matter of fact, I tell people that even though we separate it out and we say that viruses and malware are a different type of attack, the truth is it's social engineering, because the way you get infected with it is by you being tricked into opening an email or going to a website you shouldn't, right? So it's still trying to trick you. All right, so these are the parts of social engineering attacks. Persuasiveness. Can you persuade somebody to give you access? Reciprocity. I can't even say it today. Reciprocity. Ugh. I have actually been going straight on these lectures all day, so so forgive me. Just trying to get them all out there so that you guys can can work at your pace. So you may be looking at this in the middle of or end of April, and somebody else looked at it weeks and weeks ago. All right, so anyway, that this entails the attacker giving something of a lesser value for an equal value of something else. Hey, I'm going to help you out. And they help you out with something, and they're like, oh man, I really need to get into this, and I forgot my key. Oh, well, you bought me lunch, so, right. Social validation, peer pressure. You're an idiot. I can't believe how stupid you are. Down with the man. We need to get back at them. Whatever they're happening to use. Commitment entails convincing someone to buy into the overall idea. Scarcity, that's used a lot. It's got to be done now. It's a limited time. You got to act now. Otherwise, it's going to go up. Friendship, building a friendship with you and then taking advantage of that. And then authority. They have authority over you. So you will do what I say because I have authority over you. And that's what I said. The movies usually get this part right. Somebody pretends to have authority over them, or they pretend to be their friend, or they tell them, it's got to happen right now, the world's going to end. They use all sorts of different types there. Now, different types of attacks, you look over somebody's shoulder and see what they're working on, or you eavesdrop, you listen to their conversation, or you dumpster dive. You actually go look at their trash, and people are like, oh, why would I do that? Oh, people throw away like credit card statements. They throw away things from the Social Security Department. They throw all sorts of stuff away that you can go and learn about them and either try to hack their account because you learned about them, or just actually get information out of that now you can get into accounts with. I had a 103 student that said, dumpster diving, that's fantastic, man. I got a free TV out of that. And everybody was like, oh, I don't know what to do about this. Tailgating or piggybacking, in other words, going through the door with somebody else instead of letting them, right? They lock it behind them and stare at you and like, where's your key? All right, you go through with them. Masquerading, pretending to be the UPS man or somebody else. And then, hey, yeah, phishing. What is it? It's actually an email pretending to be from a trusted organization asking to verify your personal information or send money or something else. This is happening a lot. And it's not just the Nigerian scam where people are like, I'm your Uncle Brian McBride and I got $40 billion for you. It's not just that. And it's not just, hi, I'm PayPal. Is click here and check your security information, which then takes you to a whole fake site. It's actually much more along these lines of spear phishing about the victim and then identify them online and get particular information from them. City of Safford told me that they had somebody that was spearphished. So in other words, they gathered information, then they presented themselves as some contractor that the city was working with, and then gave them the bank account because they were demanding immediate payment on something, and the person paid that, and it was totally fake. They knew who that person was. They knew what account that the city of Safford was working with, and that they owed money to that account, and they got a bunch of money out of them through that. Of course, they had protection for that, so they were covered. But anyway, they're whaling, senior executives, high-profile victims. That's what that would be. In vishing, instead of an email, they use a VoIP message. So I tell students it's easy to figure this stuff out, really. Don't believe anything that gets sent to you in email, and only go to the URL that they're telling you, right? So if they say, I'm eBay and I need to verify your account information, then you type in eBay and you go to eBay. You don't click on anything in the email. And it sounds terrible, but that's what I tell people to do. You want to be safe from all of this kind of crap. Don't click stuff in emails. Instead, if you think, this is about Amazon, I wonder if this really is Amazon, then go to Amazon and look at your account information. That's the way to do it. Caller ID spoofing hopefully is being shut down, but that is pretty easy to do and can be targeted to specific people. So you could look like you're coming from somebody else, like, hey, I'm calling you from this company, and then you're not. You're calling from your own cell phone, and you've totally spoofed that caller ID. Hoax emails, which are just pathetic and don't mean anything, but people like to pass them on. And of course, spyware, adware, and then pretexting. And that's a fictitious scenario to persuade someone to perform an action or give information for which they are not authorized. Usually requires the attacker to perform a search and create a believable scenario. Pretexting, an example of that would be, hey, I'm James McBride and I'm on the road, and it just asked me to change my password last night and I cannot remember what I put in. Could you please change my password and then let me know, and then I'll go ahead and change it again? Oh, okay, James McBride, let's go ahead and do that for you. Oh, wait, so I can't remember what the default password's supposed to be. Oh, we always use this one, right? And I'm not James McBride, I'm somebody else, and now I can get into his account and do what I want. Pretexting. All right, what do we got left here? So how do you get around social engineering? You have to teach your employees mainly of the different ways this can happen and why. And that's why I try to give you some examples, because a lot of people read through this information and they're like, yeah, but I don't think that would work. Yeah, it works all the time. And if you hear examples of it, then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I could see how that would work. I mean, if I go down to student services right now, I couldn't do this because I work there, but let's say I'm a different student. Could I pretend to be you? Could I get through being you? And then maybe if I overheard you tell a teacher what your student ID was, could I go to them and go, oh, I forgot my card. Here's my student ID though. And would that be enough information for them to go ahead and just do whatever they're going to do? Now, honestly, I think probably if you're talking about signing up and dropping classes, probably so. Because let's look at what you're doing, right? You as the real person are going to all of a sudden go, why did I get dropped from that class? Or why am I in this other class? However, if I go to financial aid and ask them, are they going to just take my, oh yeah, here's my student ID. Sorry, I forgot my driver's license. Well, forget it then. Come back when you have your driver's license, right? Because now we're dealing with money. We're dealing with you paying things or trying to get money out of it. And so you have to teach the employees this is what can happen in your situation in order for them to understand that somebody could come up to them and just act like they're legitimately work there and they don't at all. And so protect information, as they say, securely dispose of sensitive documents, I shred just about everything I have on students. I don't ever, even stuff that doesn't matter, like I have roles, I don't just throw the rolls away, I shred them. Protecting sensitive information on computer from prying eyes. That's why you'll see it a lot of places, like in financial aid. If they have a computer there, they'll have one of those screens on it so you can't see it. And then prying ears, how loud are you talking? And then implement online security, verify validity on websites, verify requests, use bookmarked links instead of links in emails, type it in, that's what I do. Double checking email information and instructions, see if it's reputable, and never open suspicious email attachments. You have to train people to do that. It's so bad that I guess it's so bad at EA, I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe they're just following state standards. It's probably what they're doing. But any email that comes from outside the system says this email has come from outside of EAC. Because there are targeted things that'll say, hi, I'm your system admin and I need you to do this. So now that'll actually say, I'm sorry, this is coming outside the system. Lots of things in social engineering, but that's the last thing that we're doing there. So remember, do your notes, do these things, right? And start prepping for the final. And this next video that I'm going to make right now will be about what is the next class going to cover? What are we doing in there? So let's go do that.